Yo, it's kind of windy, so bear with me. I hope you can hear me. You feel me? Yes, indeed. We'll call this another food for thought. So, walk with me. In light of life's trials and tribulations, is there room for mercy? What I've come to understand about people, I'm not going to put a face or color on the people I'm speaking on, but people in general, they seek mercy in turbulent times, but are reluctant to show mercy during turbulent times. And depending on which side of the turbulence they stand on determines which characteristic or lack thereof they display, And it's sad to say, but it's the truth, it's the reality. And I'm a firm believer in dealing with things as they are instead of complaining and wishing and hoping for things to operate as they should. You can always take steps toward progressing to a place where things operate as they should. But until then, you have to deal with things as they are. So, back to my original question. In life's trials, during life's trials and tribulations, is there room for mercy? And why do people in general, for the most part, speaking in terms of probability, 9 times out of 10, as they say, people will not show mercy, but expect mercy, It's the same with consideration. You can put whatever virtuous quality in that place, where mercy is. If you leave it blank and place whatever you want to place in that place, it goes the same way, It's the same understanding or same philosophy that I'm trying to share with you, And I haven't solved that riddle yet. I haven't, quote unquote, cracked that case. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, throughout my travels in life, it is the reality, And I think from what I've ascertained thus far, I think it's a matter of the powerless find any avenue for power. You know what I'm saying? Or those who have no control over many matters seek control over trivial matters, And when it comes to the majority of people, we are, for the most part, again, probably playing a probability game. 9 times out of 10, you will fall in the category of those who are going without, who are struggling and striving and trying, and may or may not have seen a setback or two, or maybe 3 or 4, But most of us fall in the category of undergoing trials and tribulations in life, Nothing is perfect for anybody, I don't think, And even those who have amassed a large amount of resources and currency and, whatever else you might think makes life comfortable, they're closer to, a life past trials and tribulations. But they too, I would assume, I'm not one of them, but I would assume that while in flesh, even those who have way more than less, you know what I'm saying, have trials and tribulations of their own. And I guess for each person, depending on who you ask, trials and tribulations may mean a different thing to different people. And that also goes for instances in which people believe they should show mercy or not, in which they believe they should be shown mercy, and why they feel angry or, hurt or disappointed when it comes to them not receiving the mercy they believe they should be shown. And again, in that blank where mercy is, put anything you want. Consideration. And the reason I keep jumping to consideration from mercy is that goes hand in hand, Mercy is, grace. In times where your antithesis your enemy, your opponent, you know what I'm saying? Whoever is directly opposed to your movements, there's times where they will want to, have grace, receive mercy. And in those times, if one had consideration within them as a characteristic, as a virtue, they would remember the times where they were in their opponent's shoes, Now, depending on the enemy, you know what I'm saying? Depending on how severe your antagonist is in your life, and again, depending on who you ask, it's going to be different for every person. That should dictate as well if mercy should be shown. Case in point. Here's a point I want to raise. If you are a survivor of a trauma that almost took your life at the hands of somebody who tried and was aiming to take your life, would you believe, or are you apt to believe, that mercy is due to that person if you indeed survive and then come face to face with this person and now their life is on the line, potentially by way of your word or by way of your hand, or if you get the ups on them, is what I mean to say, is what I'm trying to say in a clear-cut way. You know what I'm saying? If it was reversed, do you believe that that enemy who tried to take your life deserves mercy? That question leads me down the thought of the religious ones of us as a people. Again, not putting a color or a face on it, but those who are religious beyond reason may believe that forgiveness, mercy, grace is owed to not only one who might have tried to take their life, but took the life of a loved one that they held dear and near to their heart, And I think when I see, things like this in the news, current events that occur after the life of somebody has been taken, how the family, depending on, again, their belief system, depending on, I guess, the demographic they belong to, you get what I'm saying without me saying it. More times than not, that particular demographic or a person of that particular belief system is more apt to forgive those who continually do them harm, continually take family members that they supposedly love. Because in my mind, I feel as though love would not allow you to show mercy to an enemy that is trying to take from you your happiness, your joy, your life, your livelihood, your optimism. In any belief system that teaches a people to accept that kind of trauma is not for or in the best interest of that people. Let me say it like that. It's not in the best interest of that people. But as Martin Luther King once said, the reason he chose the path of nonviolence when it comes to the Negro, I'm quoting too, so not that I'm putting a color or a face on this illustration, but quoting the late, great Martin Luther King. When it comes to Negroes, the reason he chose the path of nonviolence is because to convince the people, I'm paraphrasing by the way, to convince the people to take up arms against their adversary would mean certain slaughter, would mean total annihilation of the Negro, because we are not equipped militaristically to combat an enemy who has the army, the National Guard, the police, which is a paramilitary force, all this armament and artillery, that when turned against us overtly, because covertly it's still turned against us, but to declare war and make it to where those armaments and that artillery is turned against us overtly, would mean certain annihilation. And many of us would not be here today if he chose to mobilize the people with, on behalf of that cause. Excuse me. If he chose to mobilize people in the vein of violence, as they would say. I would say self-defense, but and this, if you ever see this clip of Martin Luther King, you would see how the interviewer phrased it, and that's the reason he answered in the way I believe. That's the reason he answered the way he answered, and they were insidious. Even today they are. I'm getting off track a little bit, but I want to bring this point up to you. They were very meticulous and insidious with the questioning of our freedom fighters in that day and even today. Certain questions evoke a certain response, and if you're not savvy as Martin was, as Malcolm was, as many others who you can think of who had interviews back in that day when television was starting to be a thing, like a big thing, you would have succumbed to the media's ploy to twist your words up as they do today. We see it today. Like, it's clear, as day. It's clear as day how they do things. Like how mischievous they are, the media, I mean. How they twist your words. You answer a question, they'll just chop and cut and crop and, put this here and take this word and take it out of context. And you know what I'm saying? So I'm saying all this to say, a faith or a belief system that encourages you to continue to accept trials and tribulations and continue to show mercy and forgiveness and grace to an enemy that is covert or overt, either one, is not in your best interest. That doesn't necessarily mean that violence has to be the answer, though. There's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. There's more than one way to achieve your goal, to achieve a means, to a goal. There's more than one way. It doesn't automatically have to be violence. But if your life is threatened, though, and you have the capacity to defend yourself, I would, more times than not, encourage you to defend your life in flesh if you care to retain it, So my point being, in this life, where trials and tribulations are a thing, they occur. It's something that none of us can avoid, even if we wanted to. Even if you were prepared, to the utmost and had everything almost figured out. You'll never have everything figured out. But even if you had everything almost figured out, all the way almost figured out, you feel me? You still cannot guard against trials and tribulations. So that being said, trials and tribulations being a reality, inevitable, is there a place for mercy? One might ask, life is too short, man, to hold grudges. Why not show mercy to those who seek to harm you? To those who seek to short you and set you back and damage you. Life is too short to hold grudges, man. And my whole thing is, what's the saying? And I know I'm gonna botch this. I hope I don't, but I'm gonna try to say it slow and clear so you understand. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And you know what they should add to it? Fool me 3 times, and now it's time to really see, like, what it really be. You get what I'm saying? Because, like, bro, mercy has its limits, Forgiveness has its limits. Grace should at least have its limits. If you have limitless mercy, limitless forgiveness, limitless whatever virtuous quality you want to say, those virtuous qualities in this current day will be taken advantage of. And now you're going to distort the positivity within you. Not to sound cliche, but that's the best way I can say it in layman's terms, so I don't get all over the place with lingo and, spinning the words around and all that. But just to make it clear cut, if you exhibit limitless mercy, that mercy will be taken advantage of. If you exhibit limitless consideration with no limit, like always, every time, no matter what happens to you, what somebody did to you, it will be taken advantage of. You feel me? It will corrupt your optimism, your positivity. It will ultimately destroy the kindness within that allows you to exhibit those virtuous qualities. So my point is this. There should be a limit to forgiveness, to mercy. When it comes to holding grudges, there's a stigma, There's a energy attached to that word, to that phrase, holding a grudge. You feel me? It's a negative connotation. And I feel as though we should strip from that term the negative connotation, because that can actually be the preparation needed to guard against one who is seeking to deceive and take advantage of, and have you show an infinite amount of mercy but show you none. Because everything should be based on the principle of reciprocity. What you're giving is what you should give. In no way, in my mind, as some may say, that will limit the human being you are. That will make dealings monotonous. There's no room for growth if you only give what you get. There's a limit to that as well, I beg to differ, because as human beings, we have the capacity to grow. We have the capacity to build. We have the capacity to add to, grow. We have the capacity to enhance, And I'm saying this to say, there's a starting point for everything. If you come out the gate overzealous with your consideration, you will be disappointed, because let's take it like this. We all know about fractions, right? We all know about percentages, right? 100% is the full amount. We all know this, right? To make it clear, if you give 80% consideration, there's only 20% to give, So you've given the full 80, close to the full 100 by giving 80, and then the 20 is not going to be enough. It's not going to be sufficient. You get what I'm saying? Because it's not equal to the 80. But there's only 100 to give. So there's nothing wrong with holding something in the tank, not in a deceitful way, not in a selfish or untrusting way. But there's always more opportunities if you intend to build and grow with whoever you're in contact with, expecting reciprocity from. There's going to be opportunities to show more, to give more, to have more, because we have the capacity to grow again, to enhance, to build, to evolve. We have the capacity to do so. So you don't have to be overzealous and give all at once when it comes to this, virtuousness. If you're seeking to build, the only thing that should be given 100% from your end is sincerity, And every union, every I want to say community for some reason. That's the word that's ringing out in my mind, but that's not the word I mean. But we'll just say union. Every union has its stipulations, has its standards, and they should be laid out for both parties or all parties to understand before operating under the standards set. You shouldn't just be operating under a standard that only you understand and expect everybody to just fall in line without any dialogue, without sharing, It should be understood. So I'm saying this to say, man, you said not to give 100%. So I don't got to give 100% of blank. Or you said not to give 100%. Now, don't twist what I'm saying now. That's why I had to lay it out like that. Every program has stipulations and standards that the union or the community to last, the family to last, has to abide by those stipulations set by, the program director, so to speak. You get what I'm saying? But long point short, you feel me? You don't have to be overzealous with the virtuous qualities when dealing with associates or people you just meet or people you're trying to get to know. Everything has a starting point and you build from that starting point. You feel me? Everybody's not deserving of 100% grace or 80% grace or, 90% forgiveness, because the 10% that's left to give 9 times out of 10, you're dealing with somebody who has no forgiveness in their heart, no mercy in their heart. You feel me? And all it's gonna take is for you to slip. And people resent, more times than not, those who had the upper hand but showed them grace, you know? The one who had an extra 1,000 to give and they were in dire straits and you gave them 1,000, you know, to handle whatever business. People resent those who are saving grace. For what reason, I still don't understand that riddle either, you know? But it's the truth. It's a sad reality, but it's true. And that too being said, to guard against avarice, you get what I'm saying? To guard against greed and, you know, gluttony. When it comes to resources, you feel me? When it comes to accumulating and acquiring and then sharing, as I feel we all should, but it's a matter of sharing with the right ones. Everybody's not meant to be shared with. Everybody's not meant to share with, you feel me? However you want to cut it, whatever's the proper grammar and dialect and, you know, diction, but everybody's not meant to partake in what you have to give, you feel me? Some people are naturally ungrateful because of trials and tribulations in life, circumstances that made it to where they feel as though everything they acquire is by their own doing. They didn't have no help. Whether you gave it to them just on a whim, they feel as though some type of cunning or some type of whatever made it to where they acquired what you gave. You know, appreciation is a lost art these days. You feel me? A lot of people be like, appreciate it, but they really don't appreciate shit. You feel me? So I'm saying that to say everybody's not meant to partake in what you have to offer. You can't share with everybody and expect, you know, the same in return. Everybody doesn't operate on the principle of reciprocity. You get what I'm saying? But for you to operate under that principle and expect everybody else to is damn near insane. You feel me? It's going to lead you down the road of, you know, disappointment, heartache, you know, resentment, anger. You're going to become jaded for that reason right there, believing that everybody's going to operate according to your belief system, according to the principles that you hold near and dear, that you operate by, you know? It doesn't necessarily work that way. Trials and tribulations make it to where people are shaped and cut different ways. You get what I'm saying? You heard the saying, cut from different cloth. You get what I'm saying? Trials and tribulations dictates how ragged that cloth was, you know? The cloth that we're cut from, how ragged it is, trials and tribulations determine that. If your road wasn't as hard, you might have a few stains on your rag, but it's not ragged. You know what I'm saying? It's not, you know, shredded. You feel me? And then to those who have had many trials and tribulations, your cloth might be more ragged. Now on both ends, one should not look down or look up to another whose cloth is either more ragged, more shredded, or just has a few stains, you know? Nobody's trials and tribulations make them a stronger human being, a better human being, a smarter human being. It's just that life is like a gamble. You get what I'm saying? We all choose and make decisions based on how we parlay in life, you know, how we make bets in life. So just like it would be unhonorable and despicable of someone to place a bet on both teams. I'm sure people do this to get paid either way, but really you won't gain as much as you would if you placed a bet on just one team, you know, or take one step toward one direction. If you're all over the place and you're indecisive, that'll make it to where the cloth you're cut from might not be as shredded as somebody who has made choices and decided to take steps, you know, that you were not willing to take. You feel me? So I'm saying that to say, you know, life is a gamble and we all parlay different ways. You know, we all take steps and make bets in different ways, you know? And for the most part, the indecisive will place bets on both teams, not wanting to lose, you feel me? Whereas those who have the willingness and the heart to step, you feel me, is going to place a bet and step behind that bet. And it might not always, you know, yield profit. You feel me? It might not always, present or give you a return on that investment when you make that gamble or take that gamble. But such is life. There's always an opportunity to place another bet. You feel me? It's still opportunity to parlay. You feel me? So that being said, you shouldn't look down or look up to anybody who's cut from a different cloth, because every cloth is different. You feel me? There might be similarities in the cloth. It might be the same color, you feel me? Or, branded the same way, or, you feel me? Have the same design, It's just the condition is different. So I say that to say, vet who you show mercy to. Really vet who you have in your company and show consideration to. Understand the principles you stand on, and when you're in the process of building with someone or people, let those principles be known. And if it's not something that the people or the person that you're dealing with can respect, just expect that it's going to be a lopsided exchange. It's going to be a lopsided interaction, because the person has already, or the people have let it be known that the principles you're standing on ain't something that they gon', get with. They can care less. And you have to vet the people you show forgiveness to. Everybody's not worthy of forgiveness. So, yeah, indeed, some food for thought.